Hello and welcome to Green Pass Gaming live reaction podcast. I'm your host Phlapp, and as always tonight we are joined by the illustrious Puxley. Hello, Puxley.
Thanks, Phlapp. How you doing? Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on
not
again.
too bad. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. Quite an interesting evening for us, this one, because this is our first live reaction podcast, and
It is.
it's Team Blue tonight. It's not Team Green. So
Yeah, early in the game, and we're cheering for Team Blue already. So
yeah, obviously, I'm predominantly an Xbox gamer, but I love gaming in general. So I really have no. Well, I guess I have a preference, but gaming in general is my thing. So I'm not a fanboy in any particular direction. I just love gaming, and both companies have got a lot to offer, and I'm hoping we'll see a little bit more tonight. Although tonight is a little bit of an odd one, isn't it? It's not quite what people thought they were going to get.
yeah, I mean, as you say, I'm not much of a specific fanboy either. I'm pretty much I hold all the flags to all of the competitors really, and say, but I myself say I am an Xbox gamer for PC, but I also have a PS4 as well. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing the kind of things we get tonight.
So I think when this first kind of popped up, everyone was sort of scrabbling to find out what this was all about, and fully expected, and rightly so, some PlayStation 5 information updates, and possibly that elusive price, pre-order, and release dates. But it doesn't sound like we're getting that tonight.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last show, didn't we? When we tried to predict this, I think we both mentioned that this is something that we would definitely like to see, and obviously everybody else would want to know the price and the launch date. But yeah, this is predominantly a PS4 show. Although I think there was some talk about we might see some third-party updates for some PS5 releases. So maybe it's something new. So we never know. We might see something new outside of just PS4. But even so, I'm still looking forward to seeing what is new on the PlayStation storefront.
So yeah, I was a little bit confused by this because the official blogs stated, I think, updates on upcoming PS4 and PSVR titles. They take the spotlight. I think there's also some updates apparently of PS5 third-party titles. So I don't think we're going to see first-party stuff, but it's quite intriguing to know what third-party titles they might be doing. I made a note earlier of some of the titles that I think we might get to see. Project Athena, which was the Square Enix presentation. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
that looked pretty good. I think that might get some airtime tonight. The other one that I thought absolutely might get some is Demon's Soul.
yeah, again, that's got a lot of love from a specific crowd, doesn't it?
That did get a lot of love, and rightly so. Like you said, there's a very specific crowd out there, and that's completely going to cater to them. Another one that sort of took us, I think, everyone by surprise actually, was Kena, which was the Pixar-looking
animation one. Yeah, I really like the look of that. I think it looks very interesting. I mean, I like that kind of art style anyway, but to kind of see that, as you say, the kind of Pixar look, it's very unique in the gaming space, I think.
No, I completely agree. And like I say, that caught people off guard. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that tonight. So tonight's show's supposed to be about 40 minutes, which is quite a lot, really, because I'm guessing we're going to see some more gameplay footage of some of these games. But I'm not aware, really, of what upcoming PS4 games there still are. I mean, PlayStation are doing this kind of strange thing where they want to sort of shut one generation down and start another. So for them to be doing a showcase on PS4 games seems a little odd to me. I'm just wondering if they're trying to throw the current PS4 owners some love. Particularly after the Miles Morales thing, where people started realizing that actually this isn't going to come to PS4, and they've got a user base of over 100 million people out there that potentially aren't going to play this until you buy a PS5. So I'm just wondering if this is a nod to their current sort of PS4 gamers out there, just to give them something else to look forward to themselves.
Yeah, this is something I have been wondering about earlier today, actually, about. As we've said before, we're very up to coming to the new generation, so it does seem a bit odd to me that this late in the game or this close to the launch dates that we're actually getting a PS4 reveal. Part of me wants to kind of maybe believe that some of the things we might see today, they might also announce as also being available on PS5. I'm not necessarily expecting that, but
that's a very good point, and that's kind of what I was alluding to, really, because they've kind of touted this as a PS4 event, but actually, you'd like to think, particularly third party, that a lot of these games are actually going to span both generations. So, one of my predictions for tonight, and I know it's been bandied around for some time now, is possibly the Call of Duty Cold War launch. I'm wondering if Sony have schmoozed with Activision again and got the marketing rights to that, and perhaps tonight is the time to release that information to the world, because that's exciting. It's certainly never been this late in the calendar before Call of Duty's revealed, and Sony have had the merchandise rights to Call of Duty for a good number of years now. In fact, all of this generation, I believe.
One of the things I think we talked about previously as well, what I find interesting is kind of where the state of Call of Duty is, really, because I think since the launch of Modern Warfare, and especially since the launch of Warzone, there's been talk, and also about the mobile Call of Duty mobile as well, because that's also got millions of players that jump onto that. So I do kind of wonder where Activision are thinking of taking the multiplayer aspect, because I mean, as much as I myself, I'm a big fan of the single player campaigns of the Call of Duties, but I mean, let's be real. I think a large portion of the Call of Duty fan base and community very much just love playing the multiplayer.
So yeah, absolutely. And as we discussed, PlayStation paid a lot of money at the beginning to have the sort of marketing rights for Call of Duty, and I think with the disastrous launch of the Xbox One, that did sway a lot of people over to PlayStation. And I know early on, map packs and things like that came to the PlayStation platform a good month before the Xbox, and I think that influenced a lot of people to actually jump ship and go over. It's not so much like that anymore, because with the recent Battle Pass, map packs aren't a thing anymore. All platforms get the same content on the same day. So I think we discussed, actually, it was only what was the mode that the PlayStation had that the other platforms didn't?
It was
Spec Ops.
It's a particular Spec Ops mode, I believe, because Spec Ops does exist. Oh no, we're talking about it was like a classic version of Special Ops, wasn't it? That was,
I believe it was. Yeah. So okay, I'm just going to switch the stream over to the PlayStation State of Play. It's saying that we've got 8.5 minutes, so let's just switch the stream over. Getting incredibly excited for this. Like I say, even as an Xbox gamer, this is exciting to me.
It's gaming news, isn't it? That's the exciting thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Quickly jumping back on your Call of Duty comments, though. Like, I agree. I would like to see some sort of announcement here, and I think, as you say, talking about especially that they're saying that it's going to be about third-party stuff as well. I'd like to think that we do see that. Hopefully, either as an opening or a closing trailer. I'd like to think, because Call of Duty is massive, right? So if it's not either of those two, then I'd probably assume that, well, if we don't see it at the beginning, rather, I'd kind of hope we see it at the end. I don't expect it coming up in the middle anytime soon.
No, I completely agree. I'm just wondering, because Sony have gone out of their way to mention that actually, a little bit like Xbox did, that there's not going to be any PS5 major news tonight. That we're not going to get a price release date. But I was just thinking earlier how funny it would be that actually, if they did drop that bomb at the very end, and they did that just to keep Microsoft at arm's length. Because if you're a PlayStation fan, you're watching this no matter what. If you're if you're going to buy a PS5 or whatever, you're watching the PS4 one, because, like you say, it would just be hilarious if Sony could pull something like that out of the bag. But
that's a bit under the belt, though, isn't it? From a business
perspective. But we're talking Sony here.
That's true.
And, I don't know if they feel like they're on the ropes or not. Perhaps they don't. Perhaps that's a little bit unfair, But
well, interestingly, I mean, I have also heard some stories or news today that I don't know if this is official, though, but apparently some rumours that Sony might be doing another PS5 more specific reveal before the end of August. So maybe they'll undercut again with something else later this month.
Well, I think both Microsoft and PlayStation have both said, alluded to, I don't think they've outright and come and said it outright, but alluded to the fact that there's obviously a lot more information to deliver. It's got to happen in August. It absolutely has to happen in August, surely. I can't see it going beyond August, because people need to know, what they're going to be spending come holiday season. It's not a cheap time of year, is it? And you know, if you're having to drop $500, £500 for these boxes, then you know you need to know sooner rather than later.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think if this goes into September, I think you can't leave it any later than early September, I would say, in terms of giving us the release and price details. I think our people would be getting a bit not just antsy at this point, I think just outright annoyed and maybe a bit angry that they're both keeping their cards close to their chest this late in the game.
I think there's some frustration in the gaming world from both sides, actually. It's a very strange cat and mouse game, and us as consumers, I'm not enjoying it personally, to be honest.
I do wonder if, because I've been thinking that this generation, going into this new generation, is a completely new set. I mean, I guess it's a new generation of consoles, but this generation does feel different in that both of these boxes they're not just custom boxes anymore, they are high-end PCs, if you understand what I mean. So yes, they are custom in terms of how they're built, but they're still built on the PC architecture. They're not like power PC chips and proprietary
cell
hardware
processor
anymore.
I agree. So one question I absolutely have to ask: will we be seeing Bugsnax tonight? Sorry,
well, that is that a third party or first party?
It's third party. It's from the same people that did Octodad, I believe.
Oh yeah. In that case, I'd be surprised if we don't hear from it. It's become a very big meme at some point.
So. Well, you know, Microsoft have taken a lot of stick, you know, after their July showcase, particularly with Craig.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Microsoft, and even after the May event, you know, they've taken it on board. Aaron Greenberg with the fridge in the background. You know, they do embrace the sort of the memes and the fun poking, and that's the only way you can be in this community, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the PS4 is a Wi-Fi router, isn't it? That's I believe it's been depicted as.
It has. I've yet to see that humorous side of Sony, but to be honest, that's only because they haven't really spoken much at all.
I mean, talking about the designs of each of the boxes. I mean, because usually they're usually similar in that they are some form of like black or white box of a rectangular shape, but this time around we've got, I mean, Microsoft are kind of doing that same thing still. It's very much a cuboid and nothing else, hence the fridge name. But then Sony have gone the other direction. It's like this futuristic looking machine which you've only ever seen on cartoons and stuff. So I think it's a very interesting take on how different each of them have taken it this time around.
I nearly put together my own meme because those two white sort of side panels, they remind me of Harry Hill's collar.
I know what you mean.
There's only people in the UK that would get that, but if you could cut and paste Harry Hill's head over the top of that, and with those two big white, it just looked like his. I'm surprised someone didn't do that, but it's a very niche market, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to get a lot of love, unfortunately, in the gaming space.
No. So in the PS5 showcase, we obviously saw a lot of titles, and not all of them PS5, sold titles. So things like Godfall. That very much looked like it could come to PS4. Oddworld, Soulstorm. So, and Sackboy, A Big Adventure. I'm wondering if these are the sort of games that they're actually showing off as being PS4 titles as well.
I mean, things like, as you say, Sackboy Adventure. I mean, I love my 3D platformers, so I looked at that and I immediately fell in love with it. I didn't play too much of Little Big Planet, admittedly. Believe it or not, the last one I played, I think, was on the PSP. Years and years ago, yeah. Because I never owned a PS3, unfortunately, at the time. So I kind of missed out on that kind of side of Little Big Planet and Media Molecule stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, if it does come to PS4, it very much looks like it is a PS4 game as well. So I'd like to think there's no, say, specific DualSense capability in there that couldn't be ported backwards to the PS4.
So how do you feel about, I mean, obviously PlayStation have been very clear that they want to kind of segregate the generations. So, how are they going to handle the cross-generational games? So let's say a third-party title like Oddworld Soulstorm. Are they expecting you to buy that on both systems? I mean, how are they going to do that?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose the PS5 being backwards compatible, with the PS4, I suppose they might market it as, if you do buy a PS5, but you buy the PS4 version, don't worry because you can still play it on your new system. I'm not convinced that's what the marketing's been saying, because as far as I was aware, it seems to be very select PS4 titles that have been selected for backwards compatibility on the PS5. So I'm not really sure where that leaves third-party titles, to be honest. Yeah, I do think that maybe Sony could benefit for some sort of like smart delivery type system like Xbox are implementing, with like kind of getting a free upgrade to the new one. Maybe we'll get some sort of announcement like that out of the blue later this month if they have their rumored announcements.
Well, perhaps even in this show, it might be a little bit of, if you buy this game for your current PS4, it will work on the PS5. I think there may be an element of crossover with third-party titles, because they really don't want to upset the community. And I still firmly believe that Sony have got some upsetting news when it comes to price for the PS5. So you need to keep people on board.
Yeah, that's very true. I do think that a lot of these PlayStation fan base are pretty loyal to Sony anyway. I like to think that this battle has been going on for almost 10 years now. So I'd like to think we're almost at a point where if people have got a side, they'll probably stick to it. If they're, if you're big fanboys of one or the other. But obviously there's people like, I think we might fit in the category of people who are relatively fluid, in that we could probably go either way, I would say.
I guess so. I mean, my leanings have always been towards Xbox, but that's because that's where my friend base is, and I like the interface and the Xbox Live and those sort of services that Microsoft provide. But Sony seem to have been playing catch up to a lot of those sort of services, but obviously they've got the games. So
yeah,
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Perhaps. Well, we're 10 seconds away.
Any last predictions at all? 5 seconds.
Yeah, we're not going to get a price for PS5. That's my prediction. Nice and safe.
Here we go.
I'm hoping we don't get an advert for GTA 5 again.
Oh, we're powering up now.
Hey everyone,
Okay.
I'm Lou Studdard, producer at Toys for Bob, and I'm here to talk to you about Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Crash 4 is a direct sequel to Crash Bandicoot Warped. The devious villains, Neocortex and Dr. Entropy, have finally escaped their interdimensional prison, leaving an evil scientist-sized hole in the universe. Now they've got their eyes set on not only simply conquering this dimension, but all dimensions. And it's up to Crash and Coco to save the day. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is the first totally new game in the Crash Bandicoot series in over a decade. So for us at Toys for Bob, we felt that it was important to reintroduce longtime fans as well as new players to this amazing franchise.
So this is a multi-plat title.
Incorporate the classic
Yeah, this is coming to both Xbox and PlayStation, isn't it?
Platforming that we all fell in love with.
I'm very much looking forward to this game.
Wanted to introduce
Yep, it ticks the nostalgia box, doesn't it?
Show you today. Let's start with Insanity Beach. This is where Crash's adventure first started and where we pick things up again in Crash 4. But there have definitely been changes since we first saw Insanity Beach all those years ago. And throughout Crash 4, you'll see those changes to our gameplay and even our art style.
I love the art style. I'm glad he mentioned that.
From not just the original games, but the animated cartoons.
There's something about those really bright, colourful games, isn't it, that just rope you in.
Yeah, it's almost got like a Spyro feel to it in that, because that's
it does, doesn't
as
it?
well.
Yeah, wide open new vistas, new character models, and lots of expressive animations. And with all of that, also comes
it's surprising how nostalgic a game's color palette can be, just on its own without any gameplay.
Yeah.
You're right, Spyro does that for me.
There were certain moments in the game where Crash.
Things that this is actually being made by Toys for Bob, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can kind of definitely see that they got that Spyro palette in there, if you understand what I mean.
The game with tons of awesome skins that you can earn and wear throughout the game. These skins are totally cosmetic and a fun way to express yourself while playing the game. And just to be clear, there's no MTX here. Skins are earned by completing different challenges and earning gems within levels. Crash 4 also introduces the Quantum Masks, the powerful protectors of time and space. Crash and Coco will need their assistance throughout the game to tackle the crazy challenges that we're going to be throwing at the player. Whether it's Ika Ika, who gives you the ability to instantly flip your center of gravity at the press of a button, Kapunawa, who allows you to slow down the world around you, or Lani Loli, who allows you to phase shift elements in and out of existence. Bending the rules of reality and altering your environment with these new masks is a must.
Okay, this is getting a little bit too much now. I'm hoping it's not 41 minutes of this kind of thing.
I think they only revealed 2 of the masks before, didn't they? So I think this is probably revealing the rest of them.
Is the video stuttering slightly for you?
Yeah,
also
it
very
is.
important
Is that
Oh,
the
it's a
stream?
shame.
a more
Yeah.
prominent role in the
I believe
story
so.
this time as well. But
Yeah,
that's
it's not.
all.
It's not first
You got
time that a
4 player
PlayStation stream
characters
was
who get to control key
messed about.
points in the adventure, so that they can
No,
provide their
and one
own
of the
fresh
things that does tend to
perspectives
happen is,
in the
when they
gameplay.
release the
Here you
4K
can
60
see that you'll be
version,
taking control of
the
Neocortex.
VODs afterwards,
He's all
they
about
look
using his
absolutely
blaster
fantastic.
to
The streams
change
never do the
an
game's
enemy's
justice.
path. In
Yeah.
addition to playing as Cortex, we're excited to reveal that for the first time, you'll also get to tail slap your way through crates as Dingo Dial. I repeat. you
Oh,
get to
that's
play as
cool.
Dingo Dial in
So I was
Crash
never
4.
really a big Crash fan, to be honest.
A lot has
I'm
changed
guessing
in
you
the
Really?
were.
years since we last
I really was. Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
played the first one.
I
The first game I owned was the second game, and I fell in love with it ever since then.
Unfortunately for
Okay.
Dingo,
It's always been the
fortunately for us,
personality and the
we
expressiveness
begin
for
by
me.
witnessing the destruction of said beloved diner and getting sucked into
The
another
personality of the character of the game.
Of both, really. I've always liked the kind of the dizziness of Crash Bandicoot.
Incredibly
But I always
excited to
loved
show you
Neo Cortex as well as a character. I thought he was funny as a child, and I still think that now.
In the past, it's been about taking on time trials or discovering all the hidden secrets. Well, for Crash 4, we wanted to bring something brand new to the table. So we teamed up with our friends at Beanox to create a brand new style of play for Crash 4 that we call inverted mode. It's our souped up, bumpa-berry fueled take on a mirror mode. Not only are perspective shifted,
Yeah, this is
now
too much,
each
isn't
of the
it?
dimensions are rendered in a new and unique art
I
style.
don't know. I
that
really like
changes
this. I think it's
look
an
and feel of the
interesting
experience.
addition to it.
One dimension could be asking
You mean
You're a game
how long-
developer. You would like the technical aspects.
I want to be. I should clarify.
It feels like an old-timey movie with the overcranked camera speed increasing the actual speed of gameplay as well.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean. From a generic gaming point of view, maybe this is a bit too much information.
Totally new and dynamic look and feel. It's an incredibly fun feature that is going to
Although I
give
do like
every
the
player
addition of the cosmetics, though. I think that's an interesting touch.
a reason to revisit each level again to see what new and exciting experiences in store for them.
And he said the term MTX earlier, so I assume he's talking about that this game has no microtransactions.
Crash Bandicoot 4,
Okay.
it's about
I
time.
assume that's what he meant.
Experience the space and time-bending madness on October 2nd.
Okay, October 2nd. So that's not too far out.
Yeah, I think that might be a launch day buy for me.
Some new PS5 gameplay too.
Okay, so that's what the
We
blog
opened the
said.
show with an all-new look at Crash 4. It's about time, coming to PlayStation.
Very
4
sleek,
on
isn't it?
October
In its
2nd.
presentation, very good, very PlayStation.
Now let's
Yeah.
keep the party going. The latest.
Reminds me of
from IO.
the Nintendo Direct style presentation as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
They do a very similar thing.
Ever been a Hitman fan?
Not in any real kind of depth, really. I did own was it Absolution on the Xbox 360? I had that and I played it and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of the series, though, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm going to see if I can take the resolution down slightly to.
Well, I have to go. I'll call you when I get back.
Okay, this is interesting. It's what's usually typically a third-person game, but now in VR. This is that's very cool.
Okay, is that any better? I think it might be.
Yeah, it's running
So
fine for me.
this is VR.
Yeah, so in the bottom left it says VR mode for Hitman. You could say as a
Yeah.
third person action game, this is a very interesting concept.
So when I went in and changed the resolution, it looks like they are streaming in 1080 60. So it sounds like they've obviously followed Microsoft's lead and at least streaming it at 60 frames a second.
Yeah.
Not actual gameplay. Never encouraging.
No. Probably a really nice teaser, though.
Hmm. So what's this?
I'm getting Assassin's Creed vibes, but I don't think that's what this is.
No, I don't think so. They seem to be heavily partnered with Microsoft, don't they, at the moment? Ubisoft.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, maybe this is it Elder Ring?
Oh, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, sorry, yeah.
Now, this is a game that's been on lots of people's radar. If they're showing this tonight,
Yeah, we don't really know much about it, do we? So this is if this is what this is, I'll be very intrigued. Well, I feel like it's not now. So
No, I do. I get the funny feeling it might be an indie game.
this looks like Braid. Oh, it is
Oh,
Braid.
it is. Oh, okay.
Braid 2, I assume.
Well, to be fair to us, I don't think you would have ever guessed that it was a Braid game from that opening sequence.
Oh, anniversary edition. Okay, that's interesting. I suppose there must be quite a lot of gamers who might have missed out on what's deemed quite an indie classic in today's time.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
happy
absolutely.
to announce Braid
Wow,
Anniversary
2008 came out. Wow.
I remember that being launched for the first time.
Yeah, me too.
and repainted for modern high resolutions.
It was that sort of first game that really sort of tampered with time. Well, not the first game, but a game, mainstream game that sort of tampered with time like
There are
that.
more than 9
Yeah.
pixels for each pixel in the original game. There are new
This was the one of kind of
animations
like the first big indie
Sound
Yeah.
kind of
enhance
big
the
sellers, wasn't it? In terms of the indie apocalypse, as they call it.
It's like puzzle
Yeah.
design.
Yeah, it was
programming,
early on, wasn't
and
it?
Visual
Yeah.
art.
We plan to make it the most detailed commentary in any game ever. So if you want to learn how video games are made, Braid Anniversary Edition will be a really good resource.
We hope you'll enjoy the game when it comes out early next year.
So it's nice to have the devs talk over the game, isn't it? Just to, even just a little bit of explanation. That both of them have kind of done that this time.
Yeah. I think it's just nice to know that
PS5.
You're
Oh.
set on a mystical island.
That's new.
Let's take a quick tour in this new footage captured from PS5.
Oh, nice.
Hi,
Captured
everyone.
from
This is Matt Nava
PS5.
from
I
Giant
assume it's
Squid.
coming to PS4 as well.
I'm excited to share more with you today about our upcoming game, The Pathless. The Pathless is an open-world, mythic adventure game set in a vast forest. You play as the Hunter. The Hunter is a master of archery. She can shoot talismans to fill her dash meter, which allows her to bound across the landscape. Fluid, dynamic movement is at the core of the Pathless. So the game's unique take on archery is all about timing, not aiming down sights. This design was critical to making it possible to shoot even while moving fast and performing acrobatic maneuvers. You instantly feel as skilled as the hunter herself.
I get like journey vibes from this.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The bond between the hunter and the eagle is central in the Pathless. You can gain altitude while you glide by flapping.
Well, I'm still not quite grasping the type of game it is there. I mean, I can see we're moving around and shooting targets with an arrow, which looks quite like a nice little auto-target system, but
Well, it doesn't scream PS5 to me either. That's what's worrying me slightly.
yeah, but I suppose that's maybe because the art style is quite cell-shaded, isn't it? So but I know what you mean. Maybe we could get maybe a bit more vibrancy in here, but
I'm not seeing anything the PS4 couldn't do.
no, I'm not, unfortunately. It doesn't look like a bad title though. I'm intrigued by it. I'm just still not quite sure as to what the kind of game it actually is. A puzzle adventure, maybe?
You'll also discover larger puzzles to solve in ancient structures.
Looking at the puzzles here, it's also kind of reminded me of like the Legend of Zelda kind of dungeons and all that kind of stuff with the puzzle solving.
The Pathless is all about finding your own way forward. So unlike most open world games, there's no map. Instead, the hunter can use her mask to peer into the spirit world and discover distant landmarks. It even shows you where you've been. Getting to higher vantage points will let you see further with spirit vision. Giant cursed spirits, the source of the darkness, will pose a constant threat to you on your quest. They will try to separate you from the eagle.
They're allowing these developers quite a lot of time to to describe and develop the game. Particularly, these aren't huge. These aren't AAA games, are they?
Yeah, so it's getting quite a lot of screen time, isn't it? I'm kind of wondering
Yeah.
what other big announcements we're going to see. I was hoping for something. Not to say this isn't appreciated, of course. This is going to fit an audience, but I'm kind of hoping to see something maybe a bit bigger and new. I feel like we have seen this before on the previous PlayStation show.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing this at the previous show. Was it there?
I feel like I remember seeing some sort of teaser. I definitely remember the character running around in the grass and sliding around. I think it was very brief. It wasn't as detailed as what we're seeing now.
Returned light to the obelisks.
I like the soundtrack though.
When the obelisks are restored, the cursed spirits will be vulnerable. Chase them down through the forest to corner them in a dramatic final battle.
The game looks interesting. It's definitely intrigued. It does look kind of like a bit of a button masher in a way. I don't feel like there's any real skill involved. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Not to say that all games should be skill based, of course.
I think it's one of those games that's actually a lot more fun to play than perhaps to watch.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I do like the lighting coming off of the main character though, and the shadows. I think that's kind of what maybe the level of detail that the PS5 can show.
The fire effects were impressive. I'm wondering if there's any ray tracing in there.
We'll have to defeat the cursed spirits
I guess it doesn't really lend itself to that, does it?
Yeah, I suppose depending on on how good the stream is, we're probably not going to see the best of what it would look like until we rewatch it afterwards.
We've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore and discover. The Pathless is coming out later this year. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting some Legend of Zelda / Journey vibes from this. Enough to kind of maybe I'll jump in if it's not too expensive. I don't think I'd pay full price for it, but maybe that's what I should expect to pay if I was interested.
Next up, let's see what's in store for Spelunky 2.
Right, okay.
This is another indie darling, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
For Spelunky 2,
And unfortunately, a game I've never... I suppose part of me's ever really given it much of a chance, but equally, it doesn't really pull me in too much, if I'm honest.
Made Spelunky such a unique experience in the first place.
No, I've had a dabble. It's not my kind of game, to be honest.
It's a procedurally generated game, isn't it? So it's always different, if I remember rightly. Is that correct?
I don't know, in all honesty. Those games can irritate me sometimes, to be honest, because it is luck of the draw what kind of procedurally generated world you get.
To make sure that the game felt welcoming, even though it's difficult.
I say, from my point of view, for someone who does dabble in a bit of game development as well and learning to do that kind of stuff, I'm aware that this is the first game was primarily made by just one person. So the level of quality is definitely impressive when you consider that.
It's going to feel a lot more.
Assuming this is the same as well. Like, I am impressed with what I see, knowing it's quite possibly a one-man band or a very small team.
For example, you'll be able to ride turkeys and find hidden passageways. And you'll have to choose between branching paths as you make your way deeper into the caves. As a result, the stories players create will have much more texture to them. Even after many
I'm just wondering how many PlayStation fans there are out there just drumming their fingers on the table at this point, thinking, when are we going to get to it?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that as well, if I'm honest.
When are we going to get to the whole point of putting a show like this together?
Yeah.
It's not cheap. It takes a lot of time and effort, but did they really do this for Spelunky 2? I'm guessing not.
I'm now kind of hoping that maybe we will get a surprise and we'll get that Call of Duty trailer at the end, but, well, we'll see in 20 minutes' time.
Spelunky is that the deepest secrets are the ones that even I don't know about. And there are lots of new things to play with that I hope players can use to push past the boundaries of what we, as the developers, know about the game. I have two types of favorite stories from Spelunky fans. First are when people are genuinely surprised by something that happened in the game. And second, the ones where people shared a fun experience with friends and family in multiplayer.
I can see this getting slated
These are the
on the
stories I
internet
wanted to
afterwards.
expand upon in Spelunky 2.
The show, you mean?
Yeah,
really
so
what
far,
guided my
I mean,
design
if this is
choices.
how it's going to be, I think.
After releasing Spelunky, I knew there was a lot.
I don't know.
more that
Let's
could
not
be
be
done with the
unfair. Perhaps
concept
this
and
is
the
just
world.
the slow middle.
Knowing
There's
that
always a slow
possibility was
middle,
out
isn't there?
there.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, personally, I'm really looking forward to Crash 4. So that as an opening for me was very
Okay.
nice to see.
I want players to experience what we experienced making it. That feeling that there's something special there waiting for you to discover it. A big thanks to the fans who've waited patiently for us to finish Spelunky 2. It's been a long journey, but I think it's going to be worth it. Thanks.
September 15th, okay, coming relatively soon.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of new PS4 updates to share with you, starting with a closer look at Genshin Impact.
Hey, there's something strange over there. Come on, let's take a look.
This is a very interesting game from my perspective because I've seen a lot of news about this that I believe it's made by a Chinese developer, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
I think it's been slated for almost being an exact clone of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And if you've
Right,
played that
okay.
game, it's a very close interpretation, I suppose, is the word
Okay.
to use. I know there's been a lot of outcry because of that specifically. But equally,
but knowing that, would you pick it up and buy it and give it a go?
looking at this, knowing that I loved Breath of the Wild, I may give this a go. Yeah, I like the art
Would you
style.
spend 40 UK pounds on it?
No, I wouldn't rush to the store to buy this.
No.
If it was on discount, I'd probably jump in.
What is this disturbance to which I awaken?
What? Think you can get away?
It seems to tick every cliche there is, doesn't it?
In the JRPG genre.
But you know, if that's your thing, then brilliant.
Yeah. I think the Japanese made games have that very unique style, and I think that does pick a lot of tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people if you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Your mind for the void on
Focus. What do I know them for?
gods have squealed for my mercies. Who are you to stand in the way of my vengeance?
Again, another very Japanese inspired game.
Yeah, showing what we just saw then was gameplay. I like the style. It's got that kind of cartoony aesthetic.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's very good.
It's got that 3D feel to it, though. The characters do look like they're 3D.
Well, I have no idea what this game is. I've not seen any inkling of this whatsoever.
I feel like maybe it's like one of like a Contra type game, if you understand what I mean, like a 2D kind of keep going to the right kind of game.
Right.
I don't know. Obviously, I could be wrong. I'm just assuming from what I'm seeing here, but
Aeon must die. So, with the exception of Crash, is it fair to say that everything we've seen so far is indie?
It's looking that way. Yeah.
I don't know about the Pathless.
Apart from this, looks like it's probably a bigger title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting a, I suppose, indie type feel from this.
I can't help but feel that it might disappoint a lot of people. I don't know if perhaps it is going to be like this, and they pitched it as an indie showcase. I think it might have set people's expectations possibly a little bit better. I don't know, but
Yeah,
let's see what the internet does afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, for me, watching the previous PlayStation showcase, I felt physically excited after a lot of the new reveals that we saw, but I'm not getting any of that feeling watching this so far. Maybe I've set my mental expectations a bit too high as well, but I was hoping for maybe a bit more at this stage.
It's time to talk bug snacks. Let's check out.
Okay.
We called it.
My invitation is open. Come join me on the island of bug snacks.
Wow, that's your new lead? Another monster hunt? Elizabeth Megafig is a two-bit con artist. Don't tell me you actually believe this half-baked nonsense. I swear, if you chase this bug snack story, you're out of a job.
You're the journalist. Lisbeth said you'd be coming. There's a bug snack right over there. Do me a favor and take my snack trap.
Stranger, I could use your help. This bunger goes wild for ketchup. Use it to lead the bunger over yonder.
I want you to use that journalistic instinct to find out what my favorite bug snack is. And feed it to me, obvs.
This game is so different that I'm so intrigued by it.
Well, we did call that they were going to feature bug snacks, didn't we? They kind of almost had to. And that's in quite good humour. I like Sony, that Sony have done that.
Yeah.
Catch bug snacks and bring everybody back to snacks.
Again, nobody really knew what this was before, did they? But now we're kind of seeing that it is a first-person city builder, maybe?
You two find these bug snacks and make it back alive.
Oh, we're taking a darker turn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now get going and try not to fall off a cliff.
I'm getting Firewatch feels from this as well. If you've played Firewatch before.
No, I haven't. Bug snacks.
There's a lot more in store. Let's start
Okay,
with an
this will be
update
interesting.
on an eagerly awaited PlayStation VR game.
Well, this looks like it's going to tick a lot of boxes for the Star Wars fans out there.
Force is strong with you.
You must stop Vida.
I don't understand why you never mentioned that you had the Force.
Yeah, I agree. You know, is this a PSVR system seller? It certainly could be, couldn't it, for quite a few people?
I think a lot of people are into Star Wars, are probably also into gaming usually, and I think if you love both of those things and this kind of game comes along, I think you're definitely going to want to jump in.
It just needs to be good at that point, doesn't it? You know, it's got all of the ingredients for being fantastic. It just needs to be a good game at that point.
And it's coming soon. Okay, that's quite interesting.
Whatever you do,
look like a Dreamcast symbol.
I thought the exact same thing.
Oh, Remedy. It's interesting. Control. Okay. It's a DLC.
I like the trailer though. I mean, I haven't jumped into Control yet, but I really want to play it. I'm getting DLC feels, as you say.
Well, the only other thing I think they could do is a VR version, but... Okay.
Ooh, yeah, expansion 2. Okay, cool. this is like an auto chess game.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know too much about the genre, but I know it kind of came out of nowhere from a mod, I believe it was.
Yeah, I guess that's going to sort of cater for a very niche audience, but it's good that it gets airtime like this.
Yeah, it's very nice to kind of see it on show. I say, because in a very quick amount of time, I think the auto chess genre has got a lot of love from people. Hey, auto chess is.
Ooh.
I think I know what this is called. I believe this is called The Pedestrian.
Oh, okay. This reminds me of a game that was on, I think it was on PS3, and it kind of played with the 3D physics of a sort of a stick man walking around. Do you remember that?
It's ringing a bell now that you've said it, but I can't quite put a name to it. Yeah, I remember, if this is what I think it is, I remember playing a very early PC demo of this on when it was an itch.io demo. And I was very impressed with it then, but seeing here that if this is what it is and it's coming to PlayStation, then good on the team.
A bit more mainstream, yeah.
That's a big success for what I believe is a small team. Now, I can see why. I mean, it's very unique, isn't it? I mean, you've got this whole 3D environment around you, yet the actual gameplay is a stick man in 2D.
Yeah, I quite like that. Yeah, I like the sort of juxtaposition of that. That's kind of cool. Yeah, The Pedestrian. Well done. So that's a little bit further out. That's interesting. So that's after the PS5 launch.
Yeah, that's intriguing.
Two new games headed to PS5.
We are the forest shadows. Ghosts running silently between the straight, cold lines of a corrupt state.
Quiet and down, don't shed a tear.
They count, ration, manipulate.
There's a wolf in the night and he's talking.
They've taken everything from those they claim to protect.
When the statesmen ravage and
Authority and steel will not stop us. We aren't an invading army.
The forest will be right at hand.
We are wraiths. We bypass defenses and strike at the heart.
Any ideas?
No. It's getting like, I don't know, it's like not thief, but like sneaky kind of medieval feel. No, I don't know. I can't call it.
It's kind of got Witcher come Assassin's Creed type feel.
Yeah.
People call us heroes.
From the dead all night.
The 4 characters, I'm getting a feeling maybe it's a 4-player co-op dungeon crawler, maybe?
Yeah. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like a Diablo-style game I'm now kind of envisioning.
We are all outlaws.
Well, I'm not
going to look at this gameplay. Yep.
We'll become legends.
It kind of looks like a big multiplayer game to me. I didn't feel like those were all just NPCs.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised it's coming next year. I've not heard of that before.
No. Oh, Temtem. This is the Pokemon Killer, I think it was originally called. Have you heard much about this?
Did she announce the next 2 titles for PS5? Meaning this is PS5?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, this has been described quite a lot as basically Pokemon, but with real-time multiplayer, so you can run around with friends.
So there's a Zelda clone and there's a Pokemon clone.
Effectively, yeah. But this one, I say, it's got quite a lot of love for people. Call it originality, but at the same time, I mean, Pokemon's obviously based on animals and kind of weird creatures and objects, and so the creatures here look very much similar. There's only so much difference I think you can make certain animals and objects But it's quite cool that it's going to PS5.
Godfall. We've got new
Okay,
PS5
Godfall.
gameplay
We
for
did
this
mention that, didn't we?
melee-focused action
Yeah.
epic launching this holiday.
Yeah, fast-paced hack and slash. I could quite easily get into those kind of games.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Keith Lee, and I am the game director for Godfall. On behalf of Counterplay Games, we are very excited to share gameplay with you today.
This is where you need to see the 4K 60 footage, isn't it? This could look beautiful. It looks pretty
Today,
rubbish on
you'll
the
be seeing
stream.
Extensive gameplay captured on a PlayStation.
But even
5
so, like I can still tell that graphically it looks very good, very nice.
progress, and some things may change from the final product.
I
as we
apologise
continue
for
to
the
learn
stream
and
juttering
harness
like
the
that.
Power of Sony's next generation console. Please enjoy. So let's jump right into what Godfall is. Godfall is a looter slasher that features intense action, satisfying moment-to-moment combat, and robust loot progression systems. You can enjoy the game at your own pace.
There was a lot of hype for
playing
this at
alone,
first, wasn't there? But that seems to have sort of
online
tailed off a little bit.
co-op with up to
I think the more people
additional
learnt about the
teammates.
game, the less sort of hyped they were for it.
Godfall is set in a
Yeah, I
brand
suppose you kind of just go from teasers to. But then again, it's been kind of absent for a little while, hasn't it? So maybe people will see this gameplay and maybe you feel hyped for it again. I quite like the look of it right now.
of Earth.
Do you want a sort of a melee looter
air,
game? I don't know.
fire.
I don't know if that would
Godfall is a complete package.
do it for
All
me.
loot
Don't
and
know.
gear in the game are acquired or
I think I'll have to.
unlocked.
I mean, for me, if it doesn't have much of a good story, I'd probably be swayed to not bother with it. But
It's all
there's only so much mindless hack and slash I can do before I realise I kind of want an overall objective to work to. So I'd like to think it will have that.
God who awaits you at the top. You play a Valorian knight, a godlike warrior able to equip valor plates, legendary armor sets that transform you into an unstoppable master of melee combat. Throughout your journey, you'll find ancient valor plates lost in time.
I'll be intrigued to
each
know
with
the
their own
internet's reception to this
characteristics and
because, like
long
I say,
history.
I know it started with a lot of hype and then
Now let's
sort
talk
of
about
seemed to end
gameplay
up
in
disappointing
Godfall.
people. But I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
they're sort of recapturing
First,
some of that original
our
hype.
team wanted
but-
to do something different. We wanted to combine action RPG loot progression with
I'm seeing this gameplay now. Maybe this will help sway some people if they were on the fence.
Well, the thing is, it's not God of War, is it? And God of War already
Game is therefore
exists.
one part
Um,
gear driven and one part player skill driven. In other words, not only do we want you to find exquisite weapons with powerful loot traits, but we also want you to have that feeling of accomplishment or mastering the wide set of combat mechanics available to you.
Kind of getting the
without
feeling at the minute it's a fast-paced game, but maybe it also has like some slow pacing
Combat
elements to it. If you understand what I mean.
to be fluid, dynamic.
At the beginning, when he's just kind of like jogging around on his own.
More often than not, you'll be facing multiple enemies at the same time. As a result, you should always be moving and closing the
This
gap.
does
on
remind me of God of
enemies.
War to a certain degree with that
Also,
sort of
you
aspect.
dominate the combat space.
Yeah, in terms of the camera angles and stuff, I can see what you mean.
Yeah, you're sort of in a combat arena. You got, a main baddie,
Now that
some
you're
minions.
familiar with the combat philosophy, let's dig into the weapons themselves. In Godfall, there are 5 weapon classes.
No, I think we're nearing the estimated 40-minute runtime for this. So I'd like to think this isn't the last announcement.
The polearm, the two-handed warhammer, and the two-handed greatsword. Each weapon class has their own unique movesets and play styles, ranging from
Yeah,
fast
as you've been alluding to, with when he put that shield in the ground, then I've definitely got some God of War vibes from that.
Yeah.
Acquire numerous weapons for each weapon category, each weapon with their own primary and secondary traits. At a later date, we will delve into the weapon classes and how to modify them in greater detail. For now, we'll go over the dual blades and the longsword weapon classes. The dual blades are the fastest weapon class in Godfall, embodying speed, fluidity, and mobility. The dual blades are exceptional against soft, unarmored targets or single targets. You can perform a combo by executing 4 consecutive light attacks.
I find it interesting, but I think I'm done with listening to the to the game. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, there has been a lot of
Used
that.
as a finisher at the end of your light attack combo.
I appreciate
So
that,
what are the
having a
signature
developer
moves
talk
for
over the game
dual blades?
and describe it.
As you build up charge,
It gets
you
some
can
people
also
excited,
activate
but
inner focus,
unless
which
it's
is
that
unique to the dual
AAA,
blades, which inflicts
quadruple A
massive
game
damage
that
in a
everyone
short
is
period of
you know,
time.
if this was Miles
There's also
Morales
Mortal
and the
Core,
dev was talking
where you
over
can
it,
throw your blade
people would
yeah.
be,
pulling
hanging on
every
every word,
for
but
Oh yeah.
cable.
not so much with this.
Now let's switch to the
Yeah, this
long
game, as far as I'm aware, isn't on the top of the majority of people's radars.
embodying crisp
No, I'd
It's,
say
a lot of time.
double A perhaps.
without needing a lot of
Yeah.
elaborate combo setups. Similar to dual blades, longswords have their own 4-hit light attack combo. Then there's the heavy attack finisher, which can be used at the end of your light attack combo. There are 3 signature moves for the longsword class. There's Spectral Flurry, which cannot be interrupted and deals high damage to multiple nearby
So how
targets.
far in are we?
Then
We're
there's
at the
Spiral,
40-minute mark.
eviscerates
Yeah,
all
I think I mentioned a minute ago, we're right near the end. So I'd like to think this isn't
Notice
the
there's
last
a
of
white
it.
I've got the
after a
funny feeling we're not
longsword
going to see
swing
Call of
called timing
Duty.
attack.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm thinking that now as well.
You'll perform a devastating shield uppercut with your longsword. The shield is a core part of Godfall.
Right, this has
It's
gone on
available
4
to
minutes too
use
long, is it?
throughout the
Okay.
entire game.
Yeah,
we know what a
You can
shield
always
is.
block incoming attacks.
Yeah, we know that. We know that. We've played games.
Press the
You
shield
can
button
slam it, you can throw it, you can
Yeah.
parry
block with
Yeah,
it.
we know parry.
You can
It's in
perform
every
a
game
light
that's ever
attack
existed
after a last-second
in the last
shield
5 to 10 years.
counterattack with a powerful shield strike.
Oh
The
dear.
shield is great, not just for defense, but
For
also
me, when I see a game like this, I mean, I think yes, it's great to kind of do an overview of yes, it's got these different classes, but I want to see the story. Like, what is the game about? What am I doing as the character?
Or perhaps more the technical details around ray tracing and leveraging, the power of the PS5 and the next generation consoles. I don't really want to know what Shield does. I want to know more about the technical backgrounds, about how they've put this together and why it has to be on PS5 and not PS4.
Yeah, does this proprietary SSD mean that they're loading big worlds on the fly? Yeah, we don't know. Do we?
I don't know. I don't even know if this is coming to PS4. It may very well be.
I feel like it's going to cut out in a minute, and then we're going to see the Godfall, and then maybe a release date or something.
So no PS4 version apparently.
Oh, have you just looked it up?
Yeah, this is PS5 exclusive.
Okay.
So again, perhaps the dev explaining why it's a PS5 exclusive, what makes it a PS5 exclusive. That would have been worthwhile.
And on top of that, it's almost like that would also help people like myself try to sell me why I would need a PS5 to play this game.
I'm wondering if it's ray tracing the reflections. Do they look like screen space reflections?
I mean, as you said before, I mean, the stream quality isn't the best, is it? So maybe we will have to rewatch this.
Oh yeah, I absolutely encourage everyone. If you've liked anything you've seen, you need to go and watch the VODs that they will upload afterwards in 4K 60. It really does make a huge difference.
A few more surprises coming down the road, such as details on loot and progression, and are eager to share more.
So from the lights here and the details of the glass and stuff, I can probably tell that looks like it could be ray tracing there, or at least volumetric lighting.
And YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, so holiday this year.
Yeah. I'm guessing Sony are quite thankful for that, because I'm guessing the PS5 isn't launching with that many exclusive titles. So
that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this peek into the future of PlayStation.
Really? There's no special secret one at the end?
Well,
I'm sitting here waiting for it, but I think we're done. Is that it?
That is it. Okay. Thoughts and impressions.
Do we start from the beginning, or should we talk about what we feel overall?
Let's have a quick skim through and then discuss what we feel overall at the end. So starting off, we saw Crash. That was the first thing. Probably quite a good opener. It did tick the nostalgia box, didn't it? I mean, you liked that, the color palette. That it felt like Crash. That's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a big Crash fan anyway, so I was quite. You know what? I was actually surprised they opened with that. I wasn't expecting to see that today. I would have thought that maybe we would get that a bit later on because it's coming out in October. I thought maybe end of August to early September. I would have expected to see some Crash news because they did say that there was going to be more announcements of it in the future from the last announcement. But for me, it was very nice to see that. And I don't know about you, but for me, that was probably one of the highlights of what I've seen today.
Yeah.
Looking at the quality, not to say it's all bad quality. I'm not knocking any of these games. Obviously, it takes a lot of effort to make a game in the first place. But in terms of
well, I've got a theory on what tonight was all about. Actually, as I was watching it, Braid was next, the anniversary edition. Very, very good opening sequence, but obviously turned out to be Braid. That took us both off guard a little bit.
Does that not seem a bit too much for you? Like it was a very, very detailed 3D kind of CGI render for what was essentially an anniversary indie game.
I thought it was real footage. Actually, they look like absolutely real hands. I mean, to be honest, if the creators of Braid can make game footage look like that, my God, they're wasting their time with Braid. But I know it was quite a lucrative game actually at the time. But no one's going to be laying awake tonight, waiting for the Braid anniversary edition.
Yeah, again, for me, if I see it on sale, I may be tempted to jump in. But when that time comes, there'll probably be the newest and best thing that I'll probably be more excited for. So I don't see myself personally jumping into the anniversary edition.
So next came the Pathless, and that felt like the first slightly larger non-indie game. But even though, like you said, it seemed a little bit. What's the word? I don't know. The point of the game didn't really come across in the video.
Yeah, the word kind of empty almost makes sense to me in that I'm seeing a character run around. It's a character and an eagle companion running with a bow and arrow shooting targets of all things. They even look like targets. They don't look like there was anything of any real substance.
The world didn't seem very densely populated, did it?
But the commentator did say that it was an open world game and that you could go about puzzles however you wanted. Hence, when it came on, I was mentioning that it had Breath of the Wild feel to it for me.
Yeah,
and as soon as he said that, I think, well, you've just said that you can do anything you want, however you want. That's exactly what Breath of the Wild tried to change with the current formula of open world games. So
they actually called it an open world hunter game, didn't they? So yeah, they're very much on that path. But okay,
it's intrigued me because I don't know what it is really in terms of what it's about. But obviously, that's probably part of the intrigue, I suppose, to try and get people interested in it. But it just raises questions to me, but questions which lead me away from maybe wanting to try it as opposed to pulling me in.
No, I completely agree, and I've got a comment to make on that at the very end, actually, that I will say for the end. But so next up was Spelunky 2. Again, this was kind of the mid-show.
Yeah, we're about 20 minutes in at this point, I believe, aren't we, when the Spelunky came on?
Yeah, and to be honest, I think we're only on about the fourth game, and there was roughly 13 or 14. There was one game I missed, so I didn't write that down. But yeah, so the Spelunky was the fourth game, and we're about halfway in. So they obviously really took their time explaining these games in the first half of the show. Again, a little bit like Braid, I don't think people are going to be losing much sleep over Spelunky 2, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also looking at this from I've got, as you mentioned before, I've got a bit of a personal game dev experience that I do in my spare time. So from that, looking at it with that eye in mind, from a small team or an indie developer point of view, especially if you're a solo, to have such a big announcement is massive for the indie gaming space or the indie game dev space. So I very much appreciate that Sony have put that out there from that perspective. But from the gamers that are wanting to see the big PlayStation what's next and come on, give me some real good PS5 teasers. Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't deliver on that. I don't think there's any getting around it. So next was the Genshin Impact.
Yeah, so this was... What was this again? This was was it the 2D game?
Oh, I can't remember now. Wasn't the Genshin Impact the...
Breath of the Wild clone, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned, as that was playing, again, I love Breath of the Wild, so the visual style of that game and the open world looking nature of it draws me in. I mean, it does have those kind of, I don't want to say JRPG because it doesn't look like it's quite an RPG in the traditional sense, but it's got some of those elements which don't always appeal to me. So But then the other side of the coin is that as I mentioned also, I believe it's made by a Chinese developer. So maybe we'll get some kind of nuances in kind of the execution of that JRPG genre. So maybe
yeah.
it does bring something new, unique to the table.
Okay, so next up was Aeon Must Die, PS4 title.
Yeah, this was the 2D game I'm thinking of, isn't it? The one with the nice 2D graphics and what looked like it had like that essence of
cartoon.
3D. Yeah. Again, I thought we saw some gameplay on there when we saw that kind of 2D, like a guy defeating an enemy or some sort of boss. I suppose
it reminded me of childhood a little bit with the sort of nostalgic old style sort of cartoons and stuff. It did do that. It inspired that within me.
Yeah, and to a degree for me. I mean, we've got Battletoads kind of remaster coming out soon, haven't we? And that's very kind of same type of gameplay and that cartoony style. So it kind of, in a weird way, it reminded me of that.
Okay.
But obviously, this is obviously more futuristic and it's got that 3D element. So yeah, I don't know. I might have to watch more footage of it as more gets announced.
Okay, so
it didn't for me.
we kind of predicted a couple, and then Bugsnax was the first one that we predicted that was actually there. And I'm pleased Sony did that because it does show that there's a sense of humour. And I've got to be honest, there was a moment in the trailer where I was thinking, when it sort of zoomed out to the lady watching the reporter, I'm thinking, has this been a joke all along?
I thought
everyone's how clever would that have been? How silly would everyone that's been trolling that game have looked had they have done that?
Yeah, it's actually an avowed killer or something.
Yeah. My heart was like, oh no, they have literally hoodwinked everyone, but didn't quite turn out to be that, to be honest.
So I suppose we're talking on Bugsnax, because this is obviously a big talking point, in online, or it has been. So on the initial reveal of Bugsnax, obviously, as we all know, it became this big meme. But at the same time, nobody really knew what it was, apart from these funky characters and all the insects are actually, food items. But we actually kind of saw some gameplay, so like first person walking around and looked like some sort of village building aspect. But then I also mentioned, I think near the end of the trailer, like when it's all dark and there's the rain coming down, and the character pulls out a map. I kind of got some like Firewatch kind of vibes from it as well.
Yeah, it certainly lost its bright color palette, didn't it? And to be honest, tonight I think was the perfect showcase for Bugsnax. I think it wasn't so much the Bugsnax game itself that got a lot of hate on the internet. It's the fact that they showed it in the sort of the PS5 showcase, and that was very much not a PS5 showcase title. But and it got a lot of love at the time, or Sony did for showing that kind of level of game. But tonight was really the night for Bugsnax to have probably been shown to the world.
Yeah.
But it's got people talking, so it's almost done its thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk about it much online necessarily, but with friends, and I think even with yourself, when it was originally announced, we kind of talked about it to say that, what's this kind of weird looking game, But seeing the trailer today and seeing all the extra gameplay, it's got me more intrigued as to what it's about, because at the very beginning, as you said, it kind of pans away and looks at some sort of secretary character over a desk, and I believe she says something about don't listen to what they're saying, and then look at that at the beginning, and then obviously at the end when you've got that kind of, it turns from bright and colourful to dark, and the guy falls off a ladder. It's like, actually, what is this game then? Like, it's not just a bright and colourful like insect catcher game. It looks like there's more to it than that.
I'm just wondering if we've all been played, but that would be a master stroke if that was the case. But I think I missed the next game, unfortunately. But the next one that I did take a note of was Vader Immortal on PSVR.
Yeah, so I think, as we mentioned again when it came on the stream, that if you are not only if you're a PlayStation fan, but if you're also a Star Wars fan, then this looks like one of the games to get, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you're fans of both, then this is right up your alley. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately for me, I mean, I like Star Wars games. I've always struggled to kind of get into Star Wars as a franchise. I've not managed to kind of stick to watching any of the real movies all the way through, so I can't call myself a Star Wars fan, but I do like the Star Wars universe, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense, and I feel similar, to be honest, and I'm sure there's probably lots of Star Wars fans that would be absolutely climbing up the wall at this point. But no, I feel the same, to be honest, and it is a game I would ever dabble in. If I had a PS4, if I had a PSVR, then that is definitely a game I would buy. I'm not going to go out and buy a PS4 or a PSVR special just to play that game, though.
No, I mean a PSVR is still relatively expensive. I mean they've probably come down in price now, but I think even in pounds, I mean they retail for I believe £300 or £350.
350, I believe. Yeah,
350. So we're talking just as much as a current gen
Pro.
console.
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean I know PS4 VR has a relatively small. I believe it's sold over in the millions now, but in the general kind of player space numbers, we're talking quite a small number of people I think actually have a PSVR. So I don't know how many people would be inclined to buy a VR headset just for a Star Wars game.
don't know. Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Don't know. So what was next on the list?
It was the
Remedy.
DLC.
Yeah, Remedy. Now I always associate Remedy with Microsoft, to be honest. Because of Alan Wake and Quantum Break and things like that. So I was quite surprised to see Remedy on the PS showcase. Control. I've not played Control, and I'm about to voice one of the downsides of Game Pass. Actually, is the fact that I've been reluctant to buy Control because I know for a fact in my head that a week or two after I buy Control, it's going to be on Game Pass or something. So I've been holding off paying for that on the knowledge that it's probably coming to Game Pass at some point, because obviously Quantum Break's on there. Alan Wake's only just gone on there. So, Remedy as a developer published their games to Game Pass. So I've not really played Control, but the expansion pack looked good. It was called Ore, wasn't it? Ore Expansion 2.
As you say, I'm very much in the same boat. I've not played Control either, unfortunately. And to be honest, for probably very similar reasons. And I'm kind of hoping that it will come to Game Pass, and it's the kind of game it looks like it would do. And I share exactly the same sentiment actually, in that I just know that the time will come when I'll go, you know what, I'm just going to buy it and play it because I really want to try it out. And then the next week, there it is, out for free, quote free on Game Pass.
Okay, the next one you called actually Auto Chess. So obviously a very niche title.
Yeah, this is kind of a genre which kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I believe it was originally a mod for, I can't remember if it was for Counter-Strike or like a Dota 2.
Counter-Strike, really?
Maybe not Counter-Strike. I think maybe Dota 2. But it was a game, I'm sure this game was a mod. And that's called almost what spawned the auto chess genre. Because I think then Steam even released their own like auto chess style game. And I think League of Legends or the Riot Games, I think they've also made an auto chess type game. If it's not them, it's someone similar to them. So yeah, this is kind of a genre of games which is very new. Yet I've not really tried it out too much, if I'm honest. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I should try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, the best place to try that out, Game Pass, if and when it turns up.
Yeah.
So the next one, again, you called this actually. So well done on that. The Pedestrian. So is that kind of mix between a sort of stick man running around on sort of 2D objects in a 3D world? Looked quite intriguing, actually.
Yeah, I played this back when it was an itch.io title, and the developer just wanted people to try it out, and I did.
So I'm guessing it's a puzzler.
Yeah, it's very much what you saw. So from what I remember playing, you are controlling the stick man, or let's call it a stick man for argument's sake. Yeah, it's not like a point and click. You are, left stick moves the character and A is jump and all the rest of it. But then at least on PC with the mouse pointer, you might have seen the kind of tiles that you would drag around and you'd link things together, and you're almost linking rooms side by side. And you kind of draw there's like a black line that you draw between 2 points, and you're almost creating a tunnel. So it's almost like a different way of solving puzzles. And what I like, I think I mentioned it when it came on as well, is it's not just this. It's a 2D game in really what you're playing, but it's actually built within this massive 3D world, which
it looked quite detailed, to be honest.
Yeah, the graphical quality of that I think is amazing for what the gameplay actually is when you consider it in those two separate aspects.
So next up we had Hood Outlaws and Legends, which was what we kind of said looked like a cross between sort of Witcher and Assassin's Creed, really.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing this announced before. Is this a new announcement?
I believe it is. I don't remember seeing this before. It certainly wasn't at the PS5 showcase, and I can't remember if it was a PS5 or a PS4 game now. I
think it was PS5.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it. Like you say, it looks like it's a 4-player sort of dungeon crawler potentially, but without seeing more, it's going to be difficult to sort of understand quite what the game's going to be like, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I did like we did see a bit of gameplay snippet, didn't we? And I think
it looks like we did. There was no HUD. The HUD is always a giveaway, isn't it? But it certainly looked like you were seeing it from the perspective of gameplay.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I'd like to. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more of it.
So next up were the last two actually, for the PS5 games, Temtem and Godfall.
Yeah, so Temtem is like this kind of Pokemon killer. I think it was originally kind of touted at, and then people played it. It was out in beta, and then I think we didn't really hear much more of it. It kind of did its thing, and then that was it, really.
Yeah, I've not really come across Temtem, to be honest, so that's new to me. Again, to show that off as a PS5 title, don't know. Seems odd to me.
I mean, definitely when I was a kid, I was a Pokemon fan, but I've not really jumped into many Pokemon games in a number of years now. So I like it in terms of the graphical style, but for the type of game that it is, I won't immediately go out and think of buying it.
No, and to be honest, Godfall, the last PS5 game, probably the title that demonstrated the PS5 the most, I'm guessing. Although I still didn't find it mind-blowingly impressive from the stream that we were watching, to be honest. So, like I say, seeing those 4K 60 videos that they'll upload afterwards will probably be the way to see that, and I'll be able to make a better decision then. But it did drag on, didn't it? About we made a joke of it at the time, but about how you use your shield, how you use a sword. I mean, there's a lot of time given to that.
Yeah, it was like 5+ minutes, wasn't it? Of just, I mean, when it opened up, I liked, we saw the character, we saw a bit of like gameplay footage of a guy running around, he's jumping over a gap, a bit of hack and slash. Yep, looks good, and graphically, yep, the world looks really good, even on the kind of the lower quality stream that we saw. So hopefully watching it back in a higher quality will maybe sway us a bit more. But yeah, it went on, right?
It did, yeah, and I can't really understand why. It almost seemed like filler. I think that show could have been done easily in half an hour, if I'm honest, probably less. But it seems like they wanted to pad it out. I don't know, perhaps they had 40 minutes slated and some devs dropped out. I don't really know, but that kind of brings us on to the next point, really, that the whole point of tonight and what I kind of alluded to earlier. I think the point of tonight was basically because E3 didn't happen. I think Sony and Microsoft, the big platform holders, obviously talk to these small developers, encourage them, work closely with them. And without an E3, these small titles, Bugsnax is a good example. I mean, how do they get their game across? They rely on people like PlayStation. And I think tonight should have possibly been billed as a sort of an indie slash, I don't know, perhaps an indie type showcase.
Indie showcase, I think, is the perfect word for it. I mean,
it is, but would you tune in? Would we be doing our live reaction podcast had it have been labelled as an indie showcase?
No, and I think especially when PlayStation said, yep, it's going to be a 40-minute presentation. If you put 40-minute presentation with indie presentation, then yeah, I think a lot of people's expectation will severely drop, and it'll probably maybe take away from what Sony are trying to do in terms of giving these, what was a lot of kind of what we're assuming indie developers, giving them their platform to say, I'm a small game dev, but here I am, please try out my game. I'm releasing it on a big platform. But maybe people, again, as a gamer, I don't think many people really consider that side of it, which, I mean, but that's almost rightfully so, right? Should we expect gamers to consider who's made the game? Does it matter if it's a big AAA company with hundreds of people working on it, or should we care more because of the fact that a good-looking game has been made by one person to maybe a small team of 5 or 10?
Yeah, that's a fair point, and that brings me on to my next point, really, because everything you've seen tonight, and perhaps I'm talking slightly out of turn, but everything you've seen tonight, you're going to have to pay for, and that makes a difference. And I'm obviously talking in comparison to Game Pass, because if had this been Microsoft, there would probably be a percentage of those titles that would be coming straight to Game Pass, and all of a sudden you would be much more inclined to give them a go, play them, and see what they're like. But to have to pay for them, I don't know. There's obviously there's a niche out there for people that love indie titles and are willing to experiment and give things a go, and good on you. But there's also another section of the gaming community that like their AAA, that they're not going to, they're not going to spend money on things like that if they don't have to. And this is where I think Game Pass is an absolute winner for these small indie developers, because people do give it a go. And if there are, reasonable microtransactions in the game, that they can also, top up their funds that way as well.
With things like Game Pass, I believe it's like a contractual deal between the developer and Microsoft or Xbox. So if I remember reading correctly from a developer perspective, I think Microsoft effectively pay you based on the per click / download amount, I believe it is, or it's something like that. So the developer actually does get a lot out of Game Pass.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. But if there was some skins that you could pay for, or some perhaps DLC, because you very rarely get DLC on Game Pass. So if your game is worthy and good enough, then you might think, well, actually, I haven't had to pay for this additionally. I'll pay for the DLC and see what else this game can do. So, Game Pass is great value. We don't need to say it any more than we already have. But it's just interesting to see. I think tonight is a good demonstration on the stark differences between Sony and Xbox with regards to Game Pass and having to pay for these titles separately.
Yeah, I'm saying that came to my mind as you were saying that, actually, with regards to Xbox and Game Pass and the fact that everything we've seen here would have to pay for. I mean, looking at some of the titles, I don't believe all of these are necessarily PlayStation. A large majority, I believe, are. But I don't think all of them are PlayStation exclusive, are they? So
no, Crash certainly isn't. Braid never was. Spelunky wasn't.
Pedestrians on PC, Temtem's on PC.
Control isn't. So there's a good point actually. Yeah, there's a good percentage of these that are coming to Xbox anyway, I'm guessing. But
I don't think a game like Spelunky isn't going to be a PlayStation exclusive. If it is, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one last point that I'd like to make actually is that they were very specific in their messaging with regard to this is PS4, that's PS5, this is PS5, that's PS4. There was no cross-generation sort of, you can play this on both or either. And I think they're having to do that because I don't think that they do have the compatibility like Microsoft do with the smart delivery. So I think the reason they are keeping them separate, calling it PS4, calling it PS5, is because you are essentially going to have to buy that game twice if you want it on both systems, I believe.
That's an interesting point. I did actually think when I think it was during the Pathless, after that had finished and we saw the next part, because you mentioned at that point about this looks like something that could run on PS4, and I completely agree with you. I don't think that looks technically demanding to the point where it couldn't run on a PS4. But at no point did it say that, as you said, this is PS5 and PS4. This is a PS4 title, and this one's a PS5 title. So, for me, this does detract me from wanting a PS5 if I know that I've got these cool. Like I think one of them was a PS4 game coming out in 2021 next year in January.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said at the time, didn't I? So this is coming out after the PS5 launch. Seems odd.
And especially when you look at, again, not to start a comparison battle here, but when we do consider Xbox and Game Pass and what they're doing in terms of the smart delivery and being able to get a free, or say quote unquote, get a free upgrade to the next generation version if you buy the current gen. For me, that's a system seller because I haven't got to worry about that anymore. But when I think about, I would like a PlayStation 5 for, say, Ratchet and Clank or some of the other exclusives that I saw from the previous show. The last thing I want to worry about is I've got this massive PS4 collection, but hold on a minute, you're only telling me that maybe I can only play 100 PS4 games on my PS5 and I can't play the oodles of others which exist.
Yeah, that you've possibly paid for and downloaded digitally as well.
Yeah, a number of them I have. So if I can't digitally download them on my PS5, I will be sorely disappointed.
No, absolutely. It's just a stark difference between the two, isn't it? And I think, the diehard PS5 fans are going to be able to buy a PS5 and they are going to be very, very happy, and good luck to them. But I think there's this whole swathe of middle tier gamers that aren't necessarily completely loyal to Sony and see what Microsoft are doing and think, you know what, there is another way. Businesses don't have to be quite as cutthroat as they have been in the past with regards to generational change. And do we need to have an absolute step change in generations? Well, Microsoft are proving otherwise, and I think people are starting to take notice of that, and I even think, as I said on the last podcast, that's even sort of bleeding into the sort of Sony fan ethos as well. They realise that there is actually another way.
So
just found that very interesting.
Yeah, I've got some almost mixed feelings on that, because I kind of believe in both sides, if that makes sense. So if I start on PlayStation, because that is the main topic of this show. So from Sony's perspective, thinking of the next generation is the next generation, and I should draw a line underneath what we've done before. I don't think that's a bad thing, because it is a clear separation in that you don't have this technical barrier anymore, this technical crossover kind of glitch in terms of the developers struggling to get things to work on a 2013 PS4, but then also be able to work and show off its capability, especially in the graphical space, on PS5. On the other side of the coin, when I compare that to Xbox, they've got it's, I believe, only slightly more, if we're going to talk tech spec, but it is a slightly more powerful machine, and they have already proven that they can do hardware emulation of the 360 and even original Xbox. And they're also showcasing graphical capability of what is truly next gen, or at least they had shown that previously. We didn't necessarily see that on the last Xbox presentation. So I kind of believe in both. I understand the ethos that Sony believe it should have a line drawn, but Microsoft, I think, are also proving that, as you say, that you can do this. But equally, so I'm blabbing on a bit. I will finish. But I think Microsoft will eventually have to draw a line under the Xbox One, and then the Series X will become next gen. That will become current gen, and then nothing will really be released on Xbox One capable hardware anymore.
Well, Microsoft have sort of announced that's not going to happen on first-party titles for a couple of years, but there are obviously developers out there, like Bloober, that are developing the Medium. That's solely it's an Xbox exclusive, third-party exclusive, but it's not only Xbox exclusive; it's Series X exclusive. So that's kind of happening already, but just not first-party titles, I guess. But they will have to turn their back on their legacy Xboxes at some point, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they can leverage a game over some different generations of products and get the absolute best out of all of them. But okay, well, I think that wraps things up for this evening.
My question for you, if you don't mind, then is what is your overall opinion of what we've seen? Do you have a particular title here you said that was the best one of the lot?
I think Godfall looked the best out of all of them, but that's possibly a little bit unfair because it's kind of a AA title. Virtually everything else was indie. I think my takeaway from tonight is that Sony delivered exactly what they said they were going to, even though my expectations for that was slightly higher. And Sony have only got themselves to blame for that. And Microsoft, when we go into these showcases and they say, well, it's going to be PS4 titles, or Microsoft go in saying, well, it's going to be first-party titles. We go in wanting a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with that from a gamer's perspective. But the reason we go in wanting more is because they've given us so little, to be honest. And I completely understand everyone's frustration with the situation we find ourselves in with these two big players.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment completely. I think even though I knew it was just PS4 and just a few PS5 kind of hits on third party, I think for me personally, I did set my expectations maybe a bit too high up.
Well, Call of Duty, still no Call of Duty. So perhaps, perhaps Sony don't have the marketing rights to Call of Duty, because tonight might have been, what a great way to end the show. My God.
I agree, but at the same time, given the quality of the stuff that we'd seen, say from about 20 minutes in, we're seeing things like Spelunky, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the other smaller titles. I agree with you that I would have liked to have seen it, but at the same time, I now don't think it would have fit with the other titles that we saw, and the Call of Duty could have potentially overshadowed what we've already called a bit of an indie showcase.
No, I agree. And I think if tonight does anything, it leaves the door wide open for PS5 and Sony to do another showcase, perhaps later in August, and the same for Microsoft. So we're coming up to 1.5 hours. I've had a really good time. Thanks for joining me, Pux.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
so our first reaction video, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been good.
It is. I do apologise for some of the stuttering videos. That's slightly out of my control, in all honesty. But always trying to improve. Feedback's always good. Always welcome any comments. And we'll see you on the next Green Pass Gaming podcast. So
thanks
from
for
me,
listening.
Phlapp. Yep, I'll speak to you later.
I'm Puck. See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.